pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
I'm Robert Urhammer, 700 block of Pear Street, and I would like to present a chronology of frequently asked questions and answers for Pear Street Park. And I request that Susan Reeves and I have 6 minutes to go through and do this, as there'll be question answer. The chronology, Pear Street on and off ramps closed as part of the reconstruction of I-80, I-580 interchange. What impact did this have on Albany?
The ramps off Pierce Street closed, creating a triangle of land between Pierce Street and I-80.
When did Caltrans begin discussions with Albany and residents regarding I-80 reconstruction, Pierce Street, Soundwall, and Mini Park?
1991 to 1992.
What came out of those discussions?
Caltrans agreed to transfer land for a mini park at the southeast end of the property to Albany and to provide $363,000 for development. Albany would conduct a vote of the Pierce Street neighbors whether to build the sound wall they were entitled to by federal law. The freeway agreement written by Caltrans, however, failed to acknowledge the mini park, offered development funds, or the sound wall.
When did the Pierce Street neighbors first vote on the Soundwall options? What was the outcome?
1993. Neighbors voted for a sound wall which traversed the property at a diagonal.
What steps were taken towards acquiring and developing the park?
From 1993 to 1999, no productive meetings were held between Caltrans and Albany.
What happened when Albany citizens again raised the subject of the Pierce Street Park with Mayor, City Administrator, and Caltrans in 1999?
Several meetings were conducted through 2000 with 3 representatives from the city, 6 from Caltrans, and 18 neighbors exploring the possibility of a 4-acre park larger than the initial pocket park.
What was accomplished during those meetings?
Participants agreed increasing the size of the park was a win-win for all. Albany would increase its parkland, the underserved 25% of Albany residents in the northwest part of the city would get a park, Caltrans would relieve itself of maintenance and liability of the property. Caltrans representatives told the neighbors that if they took another vote to relinquish their legal rights to the sound wall, Caltrans would transfer the land for the park to Albany. Neighbors voted no sound wall.
How would the property be transferred from Caltrans to the city of Albany?
Caltrans indicated to the neighbors that the property was to be sold to Albany for $1. A different scenario occurred. From 2000 to 2002, Caltrans and Albany developed a cooperative agreement that included an appraisal of the property for the purpose of valuing the land. The land was graded using the funds that had been designated to develop the mini park.
What happened in 2003?
Albany hired the County of Alameda Appraiser's Office to obtain an appraisal, which was presented to and rejected by Caltrans, because the appraiser was not on their approved list of appraisers. Albany attempted to use legislative process through Assemblymember Hancock's office to obtain the parcel, but the Senate Transportation Committee supported Caltrans' appraisal requirements.
Did Albany get an appraisal from the Caltrans list, and was there agreement with Caltrans on the rules of the appraisal?
Yes, Albany chose Smith and Associates from Caltrans' list of 3 appraisers. Yes, the rules were agreed upon. Appraisal was completed in June 2004.
What was the appraised value as defined by the Caltrans listed appraiser?
$580,000.
Did Caltrans approve the appraisal?
No. Caltrans identified 4 concerns with its appraiser's value. One concern was a 1907 map showing subdivision rights on the northeast end of the property. Caltrans stated those rights made the property worth millions of dollars.
What is the neighbor's response to Caltrans' belief that the property should be valued in the millions of dollars because of the 1907 subdivision property rights?
Neighbors believe Caltrans is attempting to unjustly enrich itself at the expense of Albany. Because Caltrans representatives characterized to the neighbors that their second vote to remove the sound wall would bring the 4-acre park, the neighbors voted to remove their rights to the sound wall. If the sound wall, which traversed the property at a diagonal had remained, the property would have been split into 2 triangles, making any development very difficult, if not impossible.
What happened next?
Talks with Caltrans were unproductive. There was no movement toward a property transfer. Albany staff met with the Pierce Street neighbors to give them an update in 2006. The mayor and staff met in 2007 with Caltrans Director Kempton and Assemblymember Hancock. Caltrans and city staff were directed to redo their appraisal with, once again, mutually agreeable instructions.
With continued meetings, have Caltrans and Albany agreed on appraisal instructions as of 2009?
No.
What have the Pierce Street neighbors been doing in 2009?
Neighbors successfully persuaded the Parks and Rec Commission to spend Measure WW funds on acquisition and development of Pierce Street Park. Neighbors met with Caltrans representatives, including Robert McPherson, on April 30th, 2009. Neighbors met with City of Albany staff on 3 occasions. Neighbors were unsuccessful in obtaining Albany Mayor Atkinson and Councilmember Lieber and Wiles votes to support the Park and Rec recommendation for Measure WW funds to be spent on Pierce Street Park.
What will the Pierce Street neighbors do now?
Pierce Street neighbors will use every available means to get the 4-acre Pierce Street Park as promised by Caltrans and Albany. Caltrans employees represented to the Pierce Street neighbors that if they voted away their entitled sound wall, Caltrans would transfer the property to the City of Albany for $1. The value of the sound wall was $900,000. The Pierce Street neighbors expect Caltrans and Albany to come to the table now and negotiate in good faith, recognizing that in these economic times, the cost might exceed $1. 18 years to get a promised park is too many, and we will continue to engage in vigorous action until Pierce Street Park is a reality.
Thank you. Comment?
I just wanted to say that from my knowledge, that was a very accurate representation of the history that we've seen over these many years and the frustration that the community has seen. We're revisiting the WW issue, so you did talk about that a little later, so stay tuned.